Welcome to Cllr Comments on the eve of the Christmas Eve. We will see what we get to. First again, on the agenda, we have policies we have in Cllr, who is currently a little bit unwell. Paul isn't a apology, he's just in the role. So that anyone who's confused, that is Cllr Bicknell, that is an empty chair. Any declarations of interest here? I don't think so. Minutes are here in the last meeting on the 7th of December. I think we can happily note those. Is there any public participation on this? No one, sorry. I thought there must have been one last one, actually. And people in the row behind me were muttering quite a lot, but they didn't say them, except at the end. I won't repeat that. So the public participation, we have recommendations from committees, which we have a recommendation from ANR, which is the as in the agenda paper. And then the main item on the agenda is the service management financial update operational approvals. I think everyone was here for ANR to have heard the debate and heard the presentation. The group wasn't going to do it. But I hope everyone is totally up to date with this and have the opportunity to read through the report and also to understand it and ask any questions in advance of the awards time. But some people have been to ask questions, which is exactly the way it should be. Because a lot of people don't understand what's involved here, because this is a major and very important project for the council. It's important that we continue to get it right. As was discussed at the last meeting, the business case is as it should be to deliver a project which is timely and achieve the council's corporate objectives, as well as national space financially. And financial proposals here online what colleagues will now come to expect. I haven't seen the effect of inflation, interest rates, and of course, the last couple of years. And some changes to the plan, including very different arrangements to nitrates and phosphates when the plan was first put together some years back. And as was said at that committee, this also picks up some of the early work on taking forward the project of the primary school, which is very exciting, and also the next few phases of housing beyond the first phase. Where we are looking to allocate final funding to get out and deliver on site during the course of 2024 and 2025. Does anyone have any questions on the reports that haven't already been raised? Very good.
Just say, I'm not going to take it in the style of a Christmas Carol. Yeah, I'm sorry, in the style of Christmas Carol. Just a question with regards to the release of these subsequent phases. It mentions the report that they would be released to market. I was just wondering, does that mean open market with regards to another developer developing it? If it does, what mechanisms are we going to have in place to make sure that they are delivering at the pace we want them to, rather than just sitting on it or something until economic factors fall in their favour? If it isn't, then and we're running it in the way that we would do first phase, that's fine. But it just says it released, subsequent phases will be released to the market.
Thank you. The intention is that we'll deliver subsequent phases in exactly the same way as well. I think what we are doing, however, is keeping our options open for the best economic model for the council for every subsequent phase. If it was to turn out that it was in the best financial interest of the council to dispose of parts of the developers, as long as they delivered them at the pace we wanted, to the design code policy we want, then we could do that. Right. The expectation at the moment is the model we're running for the low acre will actually stand scrutiny for the entirety of the site. But clearly, that ought to be in the best interest of the council, but clearly, sites could change. The economic environment could change, regulatory regimes could change. We're almost certainly have a new government this time next year, and who knows what that will bring. So we're keeping all those options open. Okay. Any more questions, James?
Yeah, thanks. That was a very good question. I find the response very reassuring because it enables us to test against the marketplace as we go along. And the first phase of these 381 homes has got to be a bit of a test bed in many ways because this process and methodology isn't really tested. My query is really a bit techy, you might say, having gone through with very helpful Andy this afternoon and had some very good and reassuring responses to some more detailed questions. And that's a facility that's been open to everybody. And it's really good that that has been available, because some of these questions you might feel a bit dumb about asking. Certainly I would do, even though I develop property myself in a different format. My questions, the technical ones, relate to two. The 106 package, which has seen a huge growth in some 60 million, I think, something of that memory against the budget. I just asked the question, perhaps of Chris or Andy, if we were an aggressive private developer, would we be a nickel and diming on this, and would we have been much less fulsome in the commitment that we've given to really go that extra mile in terms of biodiversity and the other commitments, which is a hallmark of a wonderful council doing a good job? That's my first question. And my second question on querying relates to the fact that plinths are being let, as we've heard, and are now let as a contract, the concrete plinths on which these 381 houses can be built. And it's reassuring that that's come in a bit below the estimated budget number. It seems to be rather a peculiar way of doing things, to let that element of the contract, rather than to let, 200 houses to one builder and 180 to another builder, which gives integrity and responsibility for the total house and project. Maybe fractionally slowing down the timing, but it's more curiosity than a fundamental question of methodology. But it does seem as if it could be slightly accident prone by building in this manner, and it also firms up on how I imagine we have the distribution to some degree between affordable housing, commercially sold housing, and housing mixture of tenants being able to get a stake in the ownership of their property. That might be fixed by fixing the plinths at this stage. Thank you.
I'll take those, I think, in the order that you raised them. The Section 106, definitely a private sector developer would have been nickel and diming that package. We've done quite a lot of work to satisfy ourselves that the Section 106 package is required to mitigate the impact of development. What we've not done is sought to diminish those mitigations in any way. The only Section 106 request that we obviously have varied is the requirement for the affordable housing through the planning process, because that allows us to bring in funding to deliver it anyway. So, yeah, the 106, if this was a third-party partner, would probably be significantly lower than its current level. And that would be diminishing the Section 106 deliverables. The second point is there is no right or wrong way to deliver this kind of work. I take your point that for particularly local authorities and RPs, turnkey contracts is more common. For developers such as the Barretts and Lindens and Highwoods of the world, we're taking a more similar approach to them, where they let individual trade packages and manage the risk and the coordination. So we're a little bit of a hybrid, and I take that point. It does potentially create some risk, but it's risk that is very manageable. One of the reasons we've taken this approach in the current climate is to make it more attractive to the larger main contractors. All of their risk is in the ground, and they will price that risk if they're even prepared to take it on the scale of, I was going to say a figure there, I probably shouldn't do that, but on the scale of 400 homes in one contract. So it's partly a response to programme, it's partly a response to risk mitigation. It should ultimately help reduce our costs, but we're very happy that the team has the ability to manage the risks that it does create.
Steve, I'm not sure when we got the microphone on screen, it's curious, but it seems to just about be holding up the screen here. The Section 106 issue, I think, is a really interesting one, because it's absolutely the case that if this was a development application that had come into the private sector, they would have been hammering down to remove things from Section 106 on the basis they've been arguing all sorts of different things that we want to achieve for our community. So even if they weren't in Section 106, we'd end up funding it in the scheme anyway. We're doing it in Section 106 because that is plan transparency. But we are doing things way beyond Section 106 within that 140 community. that are funded from the scheme. For example, some sports facilities, we've agreed to go beyond that possibly the 106 because the right thing to do in terms of meeting a gap within the very modern area. So very different set of influences. Private developer inevitably wants to extrapolate from the scheme to fund shares to shareholders. Our shareholders are our residents. So we actually want that policy, we actually want those things for the community. So why would we argue against it? Yeah. Particularly if the scheme financially fund it. Any more questions or any more comments or observations? Paul.
Thank you. That's my voice. Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask a question with reference to recommendation number 2. Councillor Bourne in Audit Resources asked about approval. Recommendation 1. Is it the same principle? Is it the same principle in recommendation 2 that there's 8.4 million, as if it's not being borrowed the same as recommendation 1? Yes, it is. Thank you. And then I've got a question with reference to the delivery of Cllr Acre. That the actual we end up with a retained cost of 93 million. However, that is offset by the business case, the market rates, affordable and shared ownership, and that brings in 132 million. If you were to if you take it to the end of the project, so then that's an overall profit of 39 million on just Cllr Acre. Based on that line,
you don't deduct the 93 because the 93 is funded through debt within the model. So the profit is, as you said, the 132. I haven't added them up, but yes, that's the figure.
Yeah, it comes up with this.
Those are absolutely right. We're not holding on to that bottom line figure as you determine to tell what we're doing. Because it's such a long way out. It's not really that appropriate. It's useful as a reference point, but it doesn't really mean much beyond that. Clearly, the scheme is profitable.
Well, that's the point I was making.
That's the critical issue that the council needs to be confident on. And it's sufficiently profitable that it puts money back into the revenue account for the council going forward and can do so from a relatively early stage. And that's one of the benefits of self-delivery. Any more questions or comments anyone wants to make? Well, I've opened up comments just now, but you've got to make some more.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Keep saying.
You won't get that. Firstly, I'd like to thank Sarah and Andy for working on this report. I thought actually the report was it read very well. The commentary is extremely important in this report because it actually details an awful lot of things. I think the question that I asked you, I mentioned the word evolved. I think it's important for people to realise that this project is going to be well over a decade in the making. And we might have had some first reports in 2021, but how many years will we be working on that project before then? And the world changes. You can pick up all sorts of things in the commentary, things that 5 years ago, the phosphates and nitrates, for instance, which the government still haven't got a clue how to deal with, and they're chopping and changing their minds left, right, and centre. They don't actually know what to do with it. There's obviously, of course, the project to evolve. Inflation, build prices, material shortages, all that's on the stuff that you cannot predict 5 years out. I think it's fair to say the project will continue to evolve as it goes, because who knows what will happen in 5 years. I think it's important that people realise that it actually evolves. So thank you very much for the report. You did very well on a lot of those things, which I hope people will dig into rather than just cherry picking certain things. So yeah, just wanted to thank you for that.
Okay. Right, thank you very much. But there is more, James.
Well, I certainly didn't want to monopolise these questions, but I do think it's such a momentous decision. It does warrant quite a bit of scrutiny. And as I understand, Sarah said in the presentation to risk and audit by agreeing to this tonight, we're actually agreeing to increase our borrowing by £9 million or thereabouts. And I think that's an important point to be clear on. And as I understand, that does actually exclude the ground source heat pump process, because that is a separate stream, or maybe that is within the 9 million. But the ground source heat pumps, as I understand, is not part of capital approval because it's a requirement, but that will be effectively self-funding as an electrical. Sorry? It is all inclusive. Okay, okay. All right, well, that's reassuring as well then. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so the critical point here is the business plan for One Hot Heat is separate from the potential indicators, which is our overall borrowing requirement. There are a series of different business cases alongside the council's core activity that collectively and cumulatively contribute to our overall borrowing requirements. So the ground source heat pump project is separate, but it's already accountable to have gone through approvals and funding. Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, in which case the colleagues can take to agree the recommendations that are here. Second's agreed. Thank you very much. And that is the only item on the business this evening. So thank you colleagues for your attention. 6:24 is not too bad. And next time meeting is 22nd of January. I think this might even be the last formal council meeting of 2023. So in which case, Happy New Year as well as Happy Christmas. See you all next time. Bye.